Welcome to another lockdown learning session with myself, Paul Holland, and in this session we are revising how to tell the time in French. Welcome to this session of lockdown learning on telling the time. Always a useful thing to have learnt actually in a modern language. Obviously in exams it comes up at some point where you'll have to recognise or you'll have to try to tell the time. But also if you ever go to visit or live in some of these places, then obviously there will come times when you need to ask what time it is and you'll need to understand the reply, or somebody comes up to you on the street and asks you what the time is. As a languages teacher and as a languages learner myself, telling the time is always a rather interesting one to study because it takes very, very little time just to go over the basics of how a language uses a particular system for getting around the clock face. And one of the interesting things is that once you've learnt those systems, it's pretty straightforward. What you need to know are your numbers. Do you know your numbers really, really well? Once you've got those in place and you understand how the different systems work, then you can tell the time. Okay, so let's have a look at how this works in practice, shall we? Here's a clock face, and if we start at the basics, start at the top of the hour, and in French, if you wish to say it is something o'clock, then you always use this formula, il est something heure. And you'll notice that there's an S on the end of heure. That's because most of the numbers on the clock face are plural. So although you don't hear that in French, you always write it with an S on the end. So here's some examples. Il est 2 heures. And you pronounce that X on the end as a Z sound, a Z, because the H counts as a vowel in the next word at the beginning of heure. So il est 2 heures. Il est 5 heures. Il est 8 heures. Il est 11 heures. And for all of these, if you want to say not it is 11 o'clock, but at 11 o'clock or at 8 o'clock, then you use à 8 heures, à 11 heures. There we go. Here we are. This is 6 heures, à 6 heures, at 6 o'clock. And again, you'll notice that X, just like with the number 2, on the number 6, the X is pronounced with a Z sound, a Z sort of sound. And the similar sort of thing happens when you say 9 o'clock, il est 9 heures, and that F sounds like a V. 1 o'clock, of course, is the one exception in terms of that S on the end of heure. 1 o'clock means there's only one singular hour, so il est 1 heure, and then that's the way that it's spelled. Now, there are two special times of the day, and that is 12 o'clock midday, 12 o'clock midnight. You'll never hear a French person say 12 heures. It's either il est midi for midday and il est minuit for midnight. Watch out with this last one. Sometimes people think that's the word for minute, and especially confusing because minutes are used in time. A minute is minute, U-T-E on the end, and this is minuit, midnight. So now let's look at this in more detail, and let's imagine that we're talking about the time between 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock. If we do this in the traditional way, that is to say 3:15, 3:30, and then counting up towards the next hour, 3:45, 4:10, this is how it looks. We all start off with il est 3 heures, and then we go down to the particular division that we need. So here's one of the basic ones. Il est 3 heures et demie. Demi needs an E on the end because an hour, a half an hour, is feminine. So demi with an E on the end, though you never hear that, do you? And quarter past is 3 heures et quart. And then to subdivide it even further, here they come 3 heures 5, 3 heures 10, il est 3 heures 20, il est 3 heures 25, and then counting up towards the next hour from this point onwards, this is where you say 4 heures moins le quart. So 4 o'clock minus the quarter. 4 heures moins le quart, 4 heures moins 25, 4 heures moins 20, 4 heures moins 10, and 4 heures moins 5. So if you want to say 20 past 3, it's 3 heures 20. 10 to 4, 4 heures moins 10. And we can go to more specific numbers if we really want to. 23 minutes past 3 would be il est 3 heures 23. 13 minutes to 4, that would be 4 heures moins 13. 12 minutes to 4, 4 heures moins 12. Good. So that should be fairly familiar to you now. But don't forget that in all languages you can also do the alternative system of counting, which is simply to have the 3 o'clock element at the beginning. And so let's put that in the middle of the clock now. So that's the basis for all of these. And you simply count the minutes around. So this is a little bit like in English saying instead of 3:15, it's 3:15. Or instead of saying it's 5 to 4, you say it's 3:55. So here they come. Il est 3 heures 5, 3 heures 10, 3 heures 15, there's your 3:15, 3 heures 20, 3 heures 25, 3 heures 30, 3 heures 35, 3 heures 40, 3 heures 45, 3 heures 50, 3 heures 55, and of course you can do all of these with the smaller numbers in between if you wish to. So 3:47 would be 3 heures 47. How do you know whether this is in the morning or the afternoon? In English we just say AM, PM. In French they don't do that at all. They say 3 heures du matin, 3 o'clock in the morning. 3 heures de l'après-midi, or in the evening, 8 o'clock in the evening, 8 heures du soir. But of course, there's another way to show that things are in the afternoon, and the French do use this quite a lot, and you'll see it in train timetables and in sort of official documents, and this will be the 24-hour clock. So just make sure that you know your 24-hour clock as well. If you're saying 6:30 in the evening, you might well say this, 18h30. So 8:15 in the evening, 20h15. 10:25 in the evening would be 22h25. Good. Hopefully now you are an expert in understanding the time in French if it's spoken to you, however quickly, and that you can also tell the time in French if somebody asks you. And if that was useful for you and if you enjoyed it, please subscribe. Thank you very much. And hope to see you in another session of Lockdown Learning or one of the other things that you will find in my playlists. Thank you. Goodbye.